stick to it.
So I saw your bag, the NorthernSoul bag.
Yeah.
And you're the guy that kind of turned me onto that. I read, history of house music.
Yeah.
And I learned about the NorthernSoul scene and how that really created the house movement. It was one of the factors creating the house movement over in the UK.
Right.
But tell me more about that, and how did that get started, and how did that get into what we know as house music today?
Sure. Well, the NorthernSoul scene, if you step back a little bit and see NorthernSoul's play in house music, and then you add the element of hip-hop and then reggae DJs, what you start to see is it's more of a history of DJ and dancers, like where did this all start? The idea of DJs playing records and people dancing. Well, if you look at the lineage, the Bible book is Last Night a DJ Saved My Life. Everybody pulls from Bill Brewster's book. And they, in that book, outside of some few exceptions, early England in the turn of the century, 1900s, where a guy had a few records.
Right.
Outside of the few exceptions in France in World War II, where you couldn't listen to jazz records, so you go to basements.
Right.
Outside of that, though, we're talking major scale, hundreds of people gathering regularly to hear DJs. The Jamaicans are the first.
Yep.
NorthernSoul is the second.
Yep. And
hip-hop and disco were the third. Reggae wasn't probably going to get the kind of exposure that it could have contributed to this whole DJ dance thing, specifically on proximity.
Yep.
But you're talking England, and the metropolis, things are blowing up in England. We're talking late 60s, throughout the entire 70s, into the 80s, and still going today. But they had more of the ability to contribute and make some noise in terms of DJ and dance culture. So I think that's the pivotal role. They were the first to get thousands of people into these big, halls listening to a DJ play records, and people go and they dance time after time after time after time. This was for years. When Billboard released the first Club of the Year award, mind you, the second time they did it, Paradise Garage got it. The first time they did it, the Wigan Casino got it in England.
Wow.
That was, that says a lot right there. Biggest club in the world, Wigan Casino. It was the mecca of NorthernSoul. And that blueprint, people coming to a large space, arriving at night, at midnight, listening to the DJ, doing whatever they got to do to stay up, time and time again, laid the blueprint for what we know as clubbing. I mean, that's the blueprint.
That's it right there.
That's it is.
That's it.
A lot of NorthernSoul guys throughout the 70s and the 80s got into electronic music. They stayed in the north, in the Manchester area.
Yep.
Some of them became musicians. Some of them opened up clubs. The Haciendas popped up.
Yep. So who were some of those major players?
There's a couple. Ian Duras was a major player in terms of a DJ.
Okay.
Soul Sam was a huge DJ at the time. These are big players. I'm forgetting the names. Ian Duras actually played at the Wigan Casino, which was the big club.
Okay.
But man, it's an ungodly list of players. You know what I'm saying? And its story in itself could be a whole interview. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
How did those records get there? Well, it was actually English people going to pubs and seeing Navy soldiers from America who brought in their 45s and said, "Can you play these for us?"
Wow.
Before that, the importing of American music really wasn't happening, and the only way to hear it was when soldiers came to play these records.
Wow.
And then they were like, "Wow, listen what those guys are playing," and then the interest started.
Okay.
The Twisted Wheel was the club that set the kind of the pivot point that jumped to the NorthernSoul scene.
Okay.
This is early 60s.
Wow.
Guys dressed like Elvis and shit. Listening to rockabilly because the soldiers are bringing it over. Yeah.
Wow. So for people that don't know, NorthernSoul is reference to north of England.
Northern England.
Right. And
Manchester.
So Manchester,
Wigan.
Nottingham, those areas up there.
All the way up to Scotland. Because
Got it.
Because it was made up of like Scottish people coming down and English people in the north.
Got it.
People would hitchhike, like 90 miles, 100 miles just to get to these parties, not knowing how they would get back. And, when we look at ourselves and the role that we took in the time of our lives, and say the rave scene, that's what these people were experiencing 20, 30 years before us.
Right.
What we were doing was nothing new. It had been done. We thought, wow, I got to Austin through jumping into a car with a friend to catch a ride because I didn't have a ride. I mean, these guys would take bus loads with no way of getting back, leave on Friday, come back Sunday, dancing the whole time. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. You're just shedding so much light for me and all the people that are watching about the history of what we're doing now and where it came from.
Sure.
And it's just, it makes me so happy to be able to talk to you and
man.
get your peace of mind.
Yeah, that's my peace of mind. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Yeah.
JJLopez.
Cool, man.
What up?